Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to Season 2 of the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L.E Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Kayla Smith, CEO of the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching, creator of the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E method, an infertility warrior, two-time boy mom, and women's health expert. This podcast is for women struggling with infertility, painful periods, terrible PMS, or really just any symptom of hormone imbalance that they are ready to eliminate for good. Tune in weekly as we interview amazing experts in the fields of women's health, breaking down those hormone walls, nerding out on nutrition, and having way too much fun. Whether you're beginning your journey or you've been struggling for years, we're going to finally help you put those pieces of your hormone puzzle back together so that you can get pregnant and eliminate those pesky symptoms for good. Are you ready? This season is packed with even more expert guests sharing groundbreaking knowledge, giving you that jolt of energy that you so desperately need, sending you lots of virtual hugs, and inspiring you to take your fertility into your own hands and make that baby. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now let's get started on your road to transformation. Today's guest is Ryan Woodbury, who is the co-founder and co-CEO of Needed, a nutrition company on a mission to empower women to find real nourishment on their journey to motherhood and beyond. We partner with women's healthcare practitioners that regularly test the nutrition and hormone levels of women to make better nutritional products and information more accessible in order to optimally nourish our mamas. 97% of pregnant mamas in the U.S. take a prenatal vitamin, yet 95% plus are still deficient in key nutrients. And Ryan talks about how she was one of them. Despite eating really healthy, well-sourced, balanced diet, she has tons of training in environmental science and holistic nutrition, but she still found that her diet was lacking. So she created some much needed products in this space, which we're going to dive in here today. So let's welcome Ryan to the show. Hey, Ryan, thanks for joining me. Welcome to the show.
So excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Tell us a little more about you and kind of your story with infertility and hormones.
Yeah, happy to. Let's see. I'm the co-founder of Needed. We're a nutrition business really on a mission to help women be optimally nourished, optimally supported before, during, and after pregnancy. And my business partner, Julie, and I met at similar points in our own kind of journeys, I guess, of wanting to become moms, and pursued Needed really out of passion and needing it for ourselves and wanting sort of us to be able to help other women along the way. So both Julie and I had sort of lifelong passions for health and nutrition, and we applied this interest in preparing for motherhood. But through some nutritional testing and other findings, we were shocked to find we were super deficient in a number of key prenatal nutrients. Right. And this was like shocking, I think, for both of us that put so much time and attention to what we ate. Like, back further, I was an environmental science major focused on food systems, so knew a ton about how do you buy really high quality food, and was lucky, I think, to be able to have the means and time to be able to do so. And realizing that, okay, like if the two of us were this deficient, and you would think, food would be doing a better job in kind of creating our baseline, but then you would think your prenatal vitamin would make up the difference, such that you were sort of at that baseline where you needed to be going into pregnancy. And we were just shocked that we weren't, and quickly realized we were far from alone. We dug into the research, and what we found was, despite 97% of what it looks like women in the U.S. taking a prenatal vitamin during pregnancy, 95% plus of them are deficient in a number of key nutrients that impact everything from kind of your fertility to basically how you feel during pregnancy, to your postpartum recovery, to in some cases your baby's like metabolic and microbiome health for the rest of his or her life. And they're just, I don't know, I think we were just like, wow, nutrition is so important at this life stage, and there just isn't the support we wanted readily available to optimize our own journeys. And I think that really led us to do what we do, and basically trying to make both better products. We offer a suite of nutritional supplements focused on prenatal health, both before, during, and after pregnancy, and information, because, you know, information is so important in terms of understanding, you know, what you need and to feel empowered to be able to meet your own needs, which is such a critical part, I think, of this journey.
Yes, I love that. And I love that you kind of saw a need and went for it and created a company. That's how so many wonderful companies are born, mine included. So I love that. And I love your products. I've tried a few of them, and we'll get into that a little bit in a minute, but you guys have made some amazing products. So thank you for doing that. It was such a needed thing in this industry. So I love it.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And I think, you know, you asked a little bit about, you know, my own story with fertility, and have I had challenges to date? And I do, and it's still ongoing. And I think it's a little bit different than maybe some of the other listeners, in that I think my husband and I are maybe an odd case for running a prenatal supplements business. Julie, my business partner, is a mom. We have delayed trying to be parents, really for two reasons. One, I have some severe microbiome dysbiosis and have been on sort of a healing journey to get my microbiome in the right place, such that sort of I feel comfortable having a child, because mom gives her microbiome to her baby. It starts in utero and all the way through breastfeeding. And in order to sort of set my child up for their best success, my microbiome is in a place where I'm yet like ready to pass it along. Gotcha. And that can be a loaded topic for many reasons. But I think the second part, and it's interrelated, is I think there's an emotional readiness component to fertility that oftentimes isn't talked about that much. I know you will cover it on your podcast in many ways, and there's other platforms, but I think that has been a driving force for me too. And one of the aspects is I'm not very good at managing my own stress, which certainly contributes to microbiome imbalance. You know, like anything, there's no single contributor. Our bodies are so amazing that we have so many backup mechanisms. But I, you know, had some pretty severe bad bug exposure from international food poisoning.
Oh, wow.
And despite taking, you know, really good care of myself, I think, you know, other factors, genetic and stress wise, both led to all three contributing to sort of a perfect storm of throwing you out of balance. And I think, you know, part of that preparation, that preconception prep, and the way that we like to think about it at Needed is both, you know, preparing physically, which is your kind of nutritional side of things, but also preparing sort of emotionally, because, again, we want women to be optimally supported at this stage. And that is, you know, getting your nutritional needs met, getting your emotional needs met, your spiritual needs met, et cetera, et cetera.
Gotcha. I love it. And so talk to us a little bit more about microbiome. So for those of you, my listeners who haven't heard that term, I don't know how many haven't, but for those who haven't, just tell us a little bit more, like, what is microbiome? Why is it important for it to be balanced? Like, what does it do in our bodies?
Yeah. I guess, you know, your microbiome, simply put, is this community of other organisms that live inside and on you that help us carry out a number of different functions or prevent those functions from being carried out depending on who lives there. So your microbiome, a lot of times we'll think about it as like gut health, but your microbiome is also on your skin, in your mouth, in your vaginal canal, and all of those kind of communities of organisms are incredibly important to human health. In the same way, I think we're increasingly understanding that they are, important to ecosystem health overall. If you think about healthy soils, those are filled with, bugs helping keep those soils healthy. And I think in our modern age, all of our microbiomes and the practitioners that we work with see again and again that the vast majority of people have some form of microbiome dysbiosis. And dysbiosis basically means that there's a disruption in your microbiome such that the good bugs that you want there that might help, you make vitamin K2 or help you digest certain nutrients, aren't there in the concentration that you would like. And instead, there's been a disruption event that you have, more bad bugs. In my case, with some E. coli and some salmonella and some other things that were beginning to take root and can contribute to difficult things because of how critical, and I think it's an area that we're beginning to understand more and more around how much of your hormone balance, your immune system control actually lives in your microbiome, in that there is this like nervous system connection between, gut health, microbiome health, and cognitive health. So that's the basics, I guess, of what it is. And then really because of, it's disrupted by stress, as I mentioned before, by the fact that, our environmental ecosystems aren't the way that they used to be in terms of being able to get good bugs from the soil, and through our foods that we used to, and then, exposure to just chemicals based off of living our modern lives that are all kind of disruptive to the microbiome. And I think it can be important for us listeners because I think understanding that and knowing that, I think caring for that microbiome, especially in a preconception and pregnancy and postpartum phase of life, when you are, one, I think trying to keep your fertility healthy, two, building baby's microbiome, which starts again in utero and continues to grow through nursing, can be a highly critical point of life to start paying attention to it.
Gotcha. And I know you said stress plays a role in this. And I was reading something recently that was saying how mindset even plays a role, how negative thoughts and negative trauma almost weakens your immune system, which brings in the bad bacteria, which weakens your gut. Then you get leaky gut. And it's like this whole cascade of things that happen. And I was like, that's so interesting because we hear a lot about like the physical things, like, eat probiotics and take good supplements and eat good food. But thinking that mindset also can play a role, that just was so crazy to me. So talk to me a little bit more about that. Have you heard that? And do you agree?
Absolutely. And I 100% agree. And sort of there's one thing to sort of back it up that it's worth checking out that I think is amazing. So Stanford University did a study. It's called the milkshake study, is how it's like known kind of colloquially. Okay. And basically, what they were able to find, and the results around it are pretty astounding, of basically depending on what they told you before handing you a milkshake, of whether or not it was this like protein shake that was going to boost your workout and help you recover, or it was this like super indulgent thing that you were going to have to, kind of setting you up to be guilty about, they were able to track that your physiology markers changed based off of sort of what your mindset was coming into drinking that milkshake or that protein shake, depending on how, even though it was the exact same thing. And I think it's just like a beautiful, simple example around That just like mind-body connection that, I think we're still trying to understand it better, but that, the way I can, in some ways best think about it is that we think about that, parasympathetic state, either you're in that, action oriented, let's go get stuff done, fear, I'm going, or in the parasympathetic, like rest and digest, your body needs to be in a place of sort of like emotional rest in order to get in that. And being in that parasympathetic state is so important for kind of our healthy microbiome, because in a lot of ways, once you're in that state, your digestive tract can actually work properly. And it's all, a whole host of things, but an example of it is for how like food ends up moving down, your intestinal tract. It's actually electrical in a lot of ways, that it pulses to be able to move things down. And oftentimes when you eat, when you're not in that relaxed state, that pulsing can't happen because you have to be in that parasympathetic state for it to happen, because it's all controlled by your vagus nerve, which, runs from the bottom of your brain all the way into your gut tract. And so if you're eating in a way where you can't send those electrical signals to pulse it down and that food can't move down properly, that is a way where food stays in the gut longer, and you might end up with SIBO where, you have microbes too high up versus where you want them, or food, bugs are allowed to chew on something longer than they should, which can contribute to a whole host of other problems. So anyways, all of this to say, if that makes sense, is it is so interrelated. And I think that has certainly been, a huge part of my own healing journey, is that I can't just heal my gut by, eating the perfect amount of fiber and the right probiotics. Those are incredibly important, that you need to have those tools in your tool set, but those can't be the only aspect of it.
I completely agree. And that's why I talk a lot about my hormone puzzle. And it's not just food. It's not just exercise. It's all those pieces, mind, body, and stress and environmental toxins, all of it. So I'm so glad we're talking about this, because I completely agree.
Yeah. And it's not, and I think that's where it's huge agreement, and it's so right. It is such a puzzle. And I think it's helpful for women to understand that, but also to, understand there are resources to help them kind of solve that puzzle, and they don't have to do it alone.
Yes, for sure. So let's talk a little more about prenatal vitamins. I love what we were saying earlier, how they're not all created equally. So talk to me a little bit more about that, and then we'll go into talking about Needed and how you guys are different.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the overall kind of shocking idea that was like, this is where prenatal vitamins really aren't cutting it, was around a little bit of the philosophy of how the vast majority of them are designed. So most prenatal vitamins are sort of dosed based off of, the percent daily facts about, have you met your 100% daily value of calcium or something like that. Those daily values are derived from RDAs, government standards, that were set originally back in World War II. They've been updated, every 10 years or so based off of ongoing research. But there's been maybe, in our view, two main flaws with that. One is the philosophy around those RDAs is, how do you avoid a disease condition? And the difference between sort of not getting a disease versus supporting your body optimally can be pretty large orders of magnitude different. If you think about it, like in a pregnancy example, vitamin C, RDA is much more closely set around how do you not get scurvy? When you think about kind of those old soldiers and their teeth falling out versus vitamin C needs really go up in pregnancy because of how important vitamin C is for collagen production. And as one of the aspects along, importance of antioxidants and a whole host of other things, but being able to get your, pelvic floor tissues in a healthy state such that they can move appropriately through the pregnancy process and birth and then recover after that, either from a vaginal or a C-section birth. Vitamin C plays a big, big role in that. So we felt the philosophy of just getting by and getting bare minimum needs versus how do you look at what is optimal was something that we really wanted for ourselves. And I think the second aspect was, I think this is important, that knowing what optimal actually was, there were big gaps in the research. Pregnant women have been understudied historically. And I think it makes sense. You don't want to have women in general have been understudied, and then pregnant women, there's just a lot more, I guess, ethics around poor outcomes and testing during that life stage. But it has left us in the dark for a long time around what women actually need to be optimally supported. And I think Julie and I were beginning this journey of like, what does optimal support look like? And what we realized is what we really needed to figure that out, since looking at the research alone wasn't enough, was a community of health practitioners who are regularly testing women of this life stage. And that's sort of how we ended up designing our product suite, was working with a number of health practitioners focused on women's health in this kind of preconception through postpartum life stage, and their sort of testing data, nutrients, hormones, genetic pathways, et cetera, to be able to give us sort of a bigger data set of looking at sort of thousands of women and where do they stack out, to be able to make sort of those in practice insights for how do you kind of adjust and dose beyond what is in the clinical research. And a combination of both really matters, but we think that designing in partnership with practitioners that are seeing things day in and day out is incredibly important. And an example of this is we all know there's increasing awareness around the problems with folic acid, right? Up to 60% of women in the US have an MTHFR gene where they can't convert folic acid, a man-made sort of ingredient, into the usable form. And there's indications that even for others that don't have MTHFR, that the conversion process can be difficult. So with that, there has been a huge increase in popularity of methylfolate, which is the sort of active form of folate that is readily usable by the body. So the body doesn't have to convert it into anything in order for it to be used, which is great. The problem with it is that without that in practice kind of clinical perspective, we were finding so many prenatal companies were actually dosing folate too high. In most cases, other nutrients are too low, but methylfolate, when it is too high, can lead to mood imbalances in women, as folate actually modifies the transport proteins that interact with your serotonin neurotransmitters. So anyways, that is an example of where I think in practice clinical insights was able to help us dose in a way that wasn't yet, the research hadn't caught up to, but so many physicians were seeing this in practice of suddenly kind of women feeling pressed or just off when taking their prenatal vitamin.
Gotcha. And one thing that I loved, that when I talked to you in the beginning, how you guys source every ingredient that goes into your product. You make sure it's the right quantity and the right, it's viable ingredients. And so I find a lot of people when they're going and getting like a Walgreens, CVS, prenatal vitamin, one, that vitamin is probably a synthetic. I like to say it's just really expensive pee that you're buying. Your body's not using hardly any of it. And then you don't know what those ingredients are. Most of them, if not all, are man-made. So it's not readily available to your body. So I love that at Needed, you guys are actually looking at the ingredients and putting ingredients in there that are, top of the line ingredients the body can actually use.
Yeah. And that's been totally in a labor of love. And I think when we started, had we known how long it would have taken to really dig into every single ingredient and supplier and how it was sourced, we might have been like, you guys are crazy that We've been at this for almost 4 years now.
Wow.
And our prenatal multi eventually just started shipping in December. So we're
Oh
still,
my goodness.
a pretty young company in a lot of ways, even though we've been at this at a long time. And that I think was really driven by, oh my gosh, we had to build, the further we dug into this industry, the further we're like, okay, we have to rebuild this product from scratch. That we couldn't use. Most people in the supplement space, white labeling is very common, that you just put your kind of maybe make a couple tweaks and just put your brand on someone else's product. And we went through the work of, reviewing every single, ingredient that went into it and who made it and how. And, it was worth it. It was totally worth it. But, it certainly was a journey for sure.
I love it. Well, we're going to take a short break so we can hear a word from our sponsor. But when we come back, we're going to dive in more to exactly what products you guys have and talk about some of your favorites. So we will be right back. Hey, y'all. It's Coach Kayla here. I hope you are loving this episode as much as I am. We will be back in just a minute, but first, a word from our sponsors. Today's sponsor of the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L.E Podcast is Needed Supplements. Did you know that 95% of mamas who take a prenatal vitamin have nutrient deficiencies? That's because most prenatals are designed to meet the bare minimum needs. Less is not always more when it comes to prenatal nutrition. That's why I'm excited to share with you a new prenatal multi from my friends Ryan and Julie, the founders of Needed. These two set out to optimally nourish themselves and all mamas, redesigning the prenatal multi with optimal doses and nutrient forms of 14 vitamins, 11 minerals, and an antioxidant-rich botanical blend. Needed is thoughtful about every nutrient form and dosage that they use, including 900 micrograms of methylfolate. And this is enough to support a healthy neural tube formation, but it's not too much to compromise mama's mood. 150 milligrams or micrograms each of usable forms of vitamin B12 and a full 550 milligrams of choline. Getting this complete nutrition would typically require you to take 15 pills, but Needed's Prenated Multi is an easy-to-take vanilla-flavored powder. It blends into smoothies, oatmeal, and other pregnancy-friendly foods. It even turned some of my clients and myself's prenatal multi into a healthy vanilla cookie. And oh my gosh, y'all, this cookie was so freaking good and good for you. So to get started today with this amazing prenatal and all the other products that Needed makes, they even have a pre and probiotic that has become one of my favorites. To order or to learn more, visit thisisneeded.com. And because you are a VIP of the show, use the code Coach Kayla to get 20% off at checkout. Go to thisisneeded.com for more info. Thanks for listening, and now let's get back to the show. Hey, Ryan, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm excited to continue.
Yes. So let's dive into a little bit of your products. Tell us, kind of some of your favorites and definitely want to talk about the prenatal and the pre and probiotic.
Yes. So let's see. We offer 5 products right now,
Wow.
actually. And what we learned is that really those 5 products together, 4 in some cases and 5 for some, were really the baseline in order to support you optimally versus just a prenatal alone. And to break that down, typically prenatals have just vitamins and minerals in them. Mm-hmm. In some cases, like omega-3, DHA plus EPI is added. But really what you can break down with our 5 products is we have your prenatal multi, which is vitamins, minerals, and botanicals, optimally sort of dosed and optimal ingredient form sort of selected, as we hinted to earlier. And then a collagen protein, as collagen is and protein needs are really elevated during pregnancy. And some of the amino acids that are found in collagen protein are difficult to get from other protein sources we normally kind of eat on a day-to-day basis. And those can help everything from your skin stretching to immune system kind of formation of baby and a whole host of other things. So loved the collagen protein. We have an omega-3, DHA plus EPA, and that is a product that we were kind of very excited about, as omega-3 was something that Julie and I were both extraordinarily deficient in and had trouble taking alternatives. Like I'm someone that has no problem taking pills. I can take like 30 at a time, but fish oil pills are something that were the ones that always caused trouble. And eating, fish a few times a week wasn't meeting my needs, did need to supplement. And basically we created an omega-3 carried in liposomes, which is the same way it's carried in nature, little molecular structures that help both one, optimal absorption of the omega-3. So when you do take it, you're able to absorb the vast majority of it, but two, also protect the omega-3, as those kind of long chain fatty acids and DHA and EPA can get degraded very, very quickly with oxygen exposure. And that's also why we recommend omega-3 when you do, whether you buy our product or someone else's, buy your omega-3 as a separate product versus mixed in with vitamins and minerals, as there's a lot of questions around stability when they are combined.
Okay.
And then an iron, again, we also offered separately because not all women need iron. And when you do, the dose variation can depend pretty dramatically depending on stage where you are. And we wanted our prenatal multi to be a baseline of something that you could take before, during, and after pregnancy, and also something that you can give your partner, as these nutrients are very helpful for them too. And because of where we dosed our folate and iron not being included, it can be used for all stages and for your partner as well. Because iron, when you take too much of it, it can both impact the absorption of other nutrients and it can also be degrading for the microbiome. And that leads to our last product right now. There's many, I think, more to come, as, certainly the world is going increasingly personalized, that there will be cases where, I have some genetics that predispose me to needing more choline. Our prenatal multi is the first prenatal, which is shocking, on the market to offer choline at 550 milligrams, the recommended amount. I have some genetics whereby it's likely beneficial for me to need more. So anyways, more products to come in time and information on how you might be able to kind of adjust things to meet your needs. But, for now, my favorite product, our pre and probiotic, which I think was, a lot of my own health issues, was very informative in helping design this, is a really, really cool one. And I think has gotten very broad practitioner support, because it's like, oh yeah, you should be taking a prenatal multivitamin and you should also be taking a prenatal probiotic. And a lot of that is what we touched on before, is how important microbiome support is at this stage. And what's neat about our probiotic is we designed it in combination with some of these women health practitioners, but also with the leading kind of microbiologists at Microbiome Labs. And it has a combination of basically three main things. So spore-based bugs that traditionally have made up sort of the foundation of a healthy gut, but we have less of them than normal because of they used to be in soil and they're not there to the same extent they were before. The second is targeted strains of bifido and lactobacteria, and they're the specific strains that have been studied to support certain mechanisms in the body that are important for that, like maternal microbiome support and seeding babies. And then lastly, some targeted prebiotics, because as of right now, you aren't able to supplement with all strains that are important of probiotics. You want to be able to feed them the right food, which prebiotics are, such that you can continuously to sort of feed that healthy ecosystem in your body.
I love that. And I've got to try all your products. I think you sent me the pre and probiotic, or was it the protein powder? You sent me one and I loved it.
Oh, I should have sent you all of them. I didn't realize that I had it. So we will make sure the rest happen after this call. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. But I just love it. And I love one that you don't put iron in your pre and probiotics. And I have a lot of clients that, like you said, they have different needs when it comes to iron. Some of my clients can't take it at all because they have some stomach issues and some things going on, some kidney issues. Some of them need more because they're maybe vegetarian, vegan, whatever it is. But so I love that you don't put iron in your prenatal and you allow us to kind of do a separate supplement for that. So, and I couldn't find I could not find a prenatal on the market that did not have iron in it. Like I looked and researched and it's not out there. So thank you for doing that.
There's very few. Yeah. So, yes, and we're not sure why. I mean, certainly, a lot of it is that like you want your prenatal vitamin to be easy to take, right? That is such an important criteria here, because like it's not going to help you if it's just sitting on your counter.
Right.
And that is, I think, why, part of the other reason why dosages are so low is most people are trying to pack nutrients into just 2 pills or 4 gummies. And while that might be easier to take, I think there are reasons why, if you really are, again, looking at this from how do you support yourself and your future kids optimally, where a little bit more separation is needed. And, you can put ticks and trips. If you do need to take iron, it's better to take it away from your multivitamin. So maybe you put it by your toothbrush. So you take that, at night away from food before going to bed, something like that, to be able to support it. But our powder, our prenatal multi, we are going to come up with capsules later, but our prenatal multi right now is in powdered form, because a lot of the highest quality nutrients like choline or magnesium glycinate are really big molecules. And to get the dosages that sort of our research found that women really need to be supported optimally, they just can't fit, unfortunately, in a couple of pills. And felt powder was a great alternative to be able to kind of customize it. I make a smoothie most mornings, but I know you made cookies out of it. There are other ways to take it to have, your prenatal baby be a positive experience. And then for those that capsules are a good alternative, that is coming too. Or for me, I'll probably take our powder when I make smoothies 4 days a week, and on mornings when I want eggs, the capsules will be a good alternative. But at 8 capsules, they won't be as supportive as our powder, though it will still be a good product, because the amount of nutrition that's in the powder would take about like 13 to 15, which isn't an option for many women, especially when you're taking 2 probiotic capsules and maybe your iron too and your omega-3.
And I love that you guys are a powder. I've had so many clients say to me, like, I take so many pills. I'm so glad I can just throw this in my smoothie, throw this in my healthy pancake recipe or cookie or whatever it is. So I like that it's a powder, and I think it's delicious. I made those cookies and they were, oh my goodness. I mean, you couldn't even tell that they like had vitamins in them. They were just like a yummy little cookie. So
yeah. It's a good vanilla that's, I think, delicious on its own, or if you aren't a sweets or vanilla person, we found that it's it can be covered up very easily. So you can add fresh cacao powder if you prefer your chocolate rather than a vanilla person, or cinnamon, or plenty of other kind of spices to be able to mute the notes. So we found that people are able to find some way that they really enjoy taking it.
I love that. So tell us where we can find you. Where can we find Needed and order these products?
Yeah, so you can find us at thisisneeded.com, or on Instagram, nourishment is needed. And we're very focused on educational information too. So we hope you'll check us out. And if it's helpful, one of the things we're offering with one of our practitioner partners is she has actually reviewed over 50 prenatal vitamins that are out there, 50 of the most popular ones. There are a lot of choices, why this stage is overwhelming, and has given sort of like an unbiased doctor review of like, here's how it is and where you might have gaps to be able to support, I guess, women either, on our products or through other ones such that they can most effectively get their nutritional needs met.
I love that. So yes, definitely you guys check out This Is Needed. They have some wonderful products and I know that you guys will all find something that you need there. So I love it.
Yes. And they can use your code.
Yes.
Coach Keila 20 to get 20% off the first order or 3 months of a subscription.
I love that. And that'll be in the show notes as well. So thank you for reminding me to mention that.
Of course.
So any final thoughts before we close out today?
Let's see. I guess the only thing that like maybe I hope is just this stuff can be really hard. And I think as women, we are really like trying to do our best to support ourselves and support our future kids. And that can come with, I think, pressure or overwhelm or a whole host of other things. And I guess my hope to leave you with is just, you're not alone. There are a lot of people and a lot of resources to help. And I think, I don't know how we can all like band together to just raise awareness of the conversation of women are undersupported across the board at this life stage. And we're really hoping that together we can change that.
I love that. Oh, well, thank you so much. And hopefully I can be a part of that as well. So let's all band together. And
you already are.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's always fun to talk to you, Ryan. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
You as well. Talk soon. Take care.
Okay, thank you. Bye. Bye, guys. Thanks for listening. Until next time, we'll see you on the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Bye for now. Hey, hang on just 1 second before you go. I want to make sure that you are aware of all of the amazing free resources that I have for you on my website at CoachKayla.com. From a fertility meal plan, a cycle syncing quick start guide, a holistic healing cookbook, as well as master classes, blog posts by me and some amazing experts in the fields of fertility, hormones, and nutrition. So many wonderful resources that will help you on your journey. And I wish there had been something like this when I was going through my 2 years of infertility, but there just wasn't. And so that's why I decided to create all of this for you. So make sure that you go and check it out and you take advantage of this plethora of support that I have provided for you. And spoiler alert, these were some of the same tricks and the same foods that I used to get myself pregnant, not once, but twice, even after my doctors said that I couldn't. So I know that these things work. So make sure you take advantage of that. And I cannot wait for you to be my next success story. So thanks, love. See you soon. Thanks for tuning in today to the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Check out the show notes for today's episode at CoachKayla.com. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week.